So this is my indoor greenhouse, and it's something I've been sort of playing around with for a little while. I have some green plants growing in there. It's a pretty good size. I mean, it's really nice that way, so you can fit a lot of different things in there. I like that the lid opens up, and there's a little hole there so that you can adjust the humidity. It does that on both sides, or you can just open it up all the way. I suppose so that you have access to it, or if you wanted to put something large in there, maybe that droops over the side. I pretty much use it because anything I put in my house, my cats will eat. So this sort of allows me to have some things growing inside and still have them and my pets safe. And one of the things that I have in there that I really like is I have this orchid. And this beautiful little orchid, it is a miniature, and it's a Philan orchid, which is one of the more popular ones. It's the one you'll see when you go to grocery stores mostly, and it's also kind of commonly called a moth orchid. And you can see the lovely flowers that it has right there. And when you're buying an orchid, you want to find one that has a few in bloom and then a lot of little buds here so that you have a really long bloom time on your orchid. They, depending on your conditions, they can bloom anywhere from 2 to 4 months. So I'm hoping to get a lot out of this. And now, orchids, let me pull it out of its pot here. They do, their roots are air breathers, they aerate. So you don't want to put it in soil, that will actually kill your orchid. This particular one is in moss, so there's this nice, moist, wet sphagnum moss here. And you can also get it in bark. And it allows the roots to sort of breathe. There are slats here in this plastic pot, as well as in this orchid pot, that if I want to go ahead and replant it right into here, there are a lot of ventilation holes going on in this pot, so that your orchid doesn't suffocate. And you want to keep it kind of moist. You do want to let it dry out pretty much between watering, so you make sure that your moss or your bark is pretty dry. One of the things that's nice about using moss, and one of the reasons why a lot of commercial retailers prefer to use this in their greenhouses, is that it stays moist a lot longer than the bark. So if you use the bark, you pretty much will have to water maybe 2 to 3 times more than if you use this moss. You do, however, want to make sure that you're watching for root rot. They don't like to sit in water. Sitting in moisture to keep the roots moist is a lot different than sitting in water. And orchids, where they live in the tropics, they live pretty much under the canopy of like a rainforest or really tall trees. So they're not getting direct sunlight. They're sort of getting bright, indirect sunlight. So you'll make sure that you're not putting your orchid in direct sun. You'll burn the leaves, you'll kill your orchid. And pretty much that's an orchid information there for you. I will talk about repotting this when I get around to repotting it, but you don't want to do that until all your blooms are done. And yeah, so that's him there, my Phalaenopsis orchid. So I'm going to go ahead and put him back in the greenhouse, which gives him a lot of humidity, which is what they like. They don't have to have, so much humidity that you're getting condensation, but they do like to have, some good humidity. And then here's my newest friend. This is a different kind of an orchid. I just purchased it today. It's another miniature variety, and this is a Papio Petal, which is a little bit different. They also call it a lady slipper. And it just pretty much has the one here, it looks like. It's not in bloom, obviously, so I'm really not sure what it's going to look like. It's almost going to be like a surprise. So I will have to show you that when it does bloom. I can take off the tag here. But the leaves here are really fascinating. They've got these multicolored green on them. It almost looks a little bit like checkering. And the leaves are really upright. They're very rigid. They're not like solid boards or anything. I mean, you can bend them, but they stand up pretty well, so they've got good water, good moisture going through them. Now this moss, I'm going to show it to you. This is a lot more dried out, so this is probably going to need a watering. The other moss was really dark, so you can see it had good moisture on it, and this one is pretty much dried out. So I'm going to want to definitely give this one a good drink of water. So I'm going to put that in the sink, and I'm going to drain the water through there, and then I'm going to let it completely drain through the slats before I put it back in its pot. And I think I'm going to use distilled water so that I don't get a lot of the chemicals. Orchids aren't particularly difficult, so it's basically just you really need to meet a few of their criteria, and they will be fairly easy to care for. It's just the important thing is meeting those criteria. And I've read that distilled water is better for them, so that you don't have a lot of problems or issues with that. So I'm going to do that, put him in the greenhouse, and that's where we're going with this from there.